Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Devs Episode 3. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. This episode really started with probably the most intriguing scene it had yet. It was very abstract. I mean, I guess every time I've seen anything out of the machine has been somewhat abstract, but this was especially abstract because it was like trying to watch porn in 1998 when the Scramble channel came on at midnight. Admittedly, if you're too much younger than me, you won't get that reference, but it was a thing.
It was, yeah.
I think you see some pyramids at one point, like as if they're looking at Egypt or something. They're trying to look at the formation of the pyramids, if they can even go back that far, because that's actually really far back. But they end up with what looks like witches being killed in Salem or somewhere like that.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like. And then we sort of see something we just got last episode, which was Lily with the sign in the window, and it kind of like then it goes to the title screen. But this kind of like barrage of static and like trying to make images and seeing, honestly, the part with the witch though was the most memorable because there was just a screaming and it was kind of horrific, and it felt like a horror movie. Like I felt not scared, but like I felt uneasy.
Unsettled.
Yes, unsettled. There you go, that's a good word for it. Unsettled. There was an unsettling kind of thing to it. And one of the things I meant to bring up last time, and I forgot about the Jesus crucifixion thing, is that I do actually wonder I wonder if these are actually real things. Or, now obviously, yes, there was actual witches in Salem, or people were tried as witches in Salem, yes, there was pyramids, so on. But I'm wondering how much of this is actually coming from the people who are putting in the data, and who are putting in like almost like it's fitting expectations.
Okay, so there's a bit of a bias confirmation.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, like I'm wondering how much of this is coming from us. Well, whether it's the people in the room themselves, or it's just like no, this is coming from our culture because.
I get where you're coming from. I think this really depends on what the information is being inputted to extrapolate from is. So, like when we saw Sergei's little test with the little organism, it was based off the movements it was doing then, and then syncing up with that, and then predicting the future. So it was basing it off something that was a complete solid fact, that it was indisputable because you could measure that. So if this is also using measurable, solid facts that cannot be wrong, then I think the point is that this is proving that these are real. Whereas if it's inputting what we kind of know of history and kind of extrapolate out from the assumptions that we think we know, then yes, it could be wrong.
Yeah, it depends to what extent it works. We don't know exactly how the big version works, so exactly what the devs version
no,
functions.
not at all.
We know there's code, we know there's algorithms, but we don't really know what it's based on. And we might never know. Maybe that'll be kept intentionally vague for reasons,
Yeah, I think as of right now, I'm willing to assume that anything they see is real, as in that's kind of their whole driving goal, right? Is to show with clarity what actually happened. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt right now that.
Well, here's the thing, though.
They're correct.
When I theorize this, I'm not theorizing that they know this. I'm theorizing that they think what they're seeing is accurate, but in actual fact, it's not. In actual fact, because of what's in culture, because of either what's in their own heads, or because of because let's say it's using. I mean, we know it's not connected to the outside world, so it's not using the internet. But let's say. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like maybe we're going to like go down a path of some sort of like shared collective consciousness or something like that. Where
I think what this kind of boils down to, what the point you're getting at, is kind of what we were talking about last time with the margin of error, like and then relying on something, thinking it's accurate, and maybe it's not quite as accurate as it seems.
Yeah, admittedly, this came more from the Jesus thing from last episode than it did from the ones we see in this episode, because the ones in this episode are kind of general things as opposed to specific people for the most part. We'll get to the one after the title in a minute, but
yeah. What is interesting though is they obviously they're not perfect renditions yet. These projections they're pretty rough. So even the shot of Lily with the sign, which we saw, there's a lot of room for interpretation here, because you can only actually make out the word "you" in this projection on her sign. You can't make out the rest of it. So they could be misreading that and thinking it means something that it doesn't.
What's interesting is that after the title screen and Katie comes in, she gives them shit because Stuart and the kid are watching Marilyn Monroe having sex, and they're sort of joking about how it's a sex tape to end all sex tapes, and she cracks a dig about how every new invention ends up getting used for porn. Even this one, which is like going to completely break the fundamental rules of society.
To be fair, she's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong. It's accurate. I mean, hell, that's why VHS won the format war. Yeah. It's why the internet took off the way it did.
It'll be the reason VR sells if it ever gets, to a significant.
If it ever does,
portion.
yeah. I'm not convinced it will.
No, but if there's anything that can do it, it's that.
I feel like augmented reality with holograms is what's really going to actually take off eventually when it actually works. When we get to that point, I think VR will be this weird experiment. VR will be kind of like I don't know. I'm trying to give an example from like the gaming industry where they attempted like motion controls or something, but then it kind of get forgotten about and people just left it behind. Oh no, do you know what it is? It's 3D TVs. It's just going to be left behind like that. But actual augmented reality holograms is where it's going to take off.
Yeah.
That's where it'll take off. Anyway, so she comes in, she catches them doing this, and again, this is one of these things where, okay, well, you knew these people were a couple, you knew they had sex, and so there's nothing to me that says that, well, this could just be your interpretation of them having sex. I mean, it's just two people having sex. There's nothing specific about it that really, has to really mean anything. But and then they joke about, figuring out who shot JFK, little joke. But the key thing here that's interesting is that she says, you know the rules, we don't invade privacy. That was the first one. And then the second one is we only look back, we don't look forward, which I'm pretty sure Forrest has been cheating with that one a little bit, based on a lot of the dialogue he has.
I think he might be, yeah.
I feel like, now, whether or not she knows he's doing that, or she knows but everyone else that works under them doesn't know, I mean... He's
kind of the only one that's allowed. I mean, it is his company, after all.
Yeah, it's his thing. So I think that's very interesting. And there's even several lines in this episode about later on when Kenton comes to talk to him about Lily, and he's telling her, we've got this back door way out because she's a bit crazy. He says, yeah, but nothing's going to happen to her. He's like, yeah, I promise. No, I'm serious. Nothing's going to happen to her. And he doesn't say it as if he's threatening him. He says it as if, no, he knows nothing's going to happen to her. And then he assures him, no, we're still in your tram lines. So clearly he is looking ahead. And obviously, I feel like one of the big reveals of this show has to be, what does he know that's coming? Because
what's he seen that no one else has? Yeah, what's he working towards?
Yeah, where do these tram lines end? For lack of a better term, like we're on these tram lines. He sees them going somewhere.
Yeah, it feels too specific to just be, we're just following the way it's meant to be. It feels like no, he is intentionally, self-fulfilling it to aim for something.
Does he know his own death? Like, is his death at the end of the season? Does he know that coming? So maybe. Whatever he's doing is to sort of get everything in place before that. I mean, I don't know. But, yeah, so... from there, we essentially have a couple things happening. We have the senator who comes to see Forrest and essentially strong arms him into at least giving up some information. And he very vaguely tells her, ultimately. And he's like, prediction algorithms. She's like, what, for stock markets? Like... Sure.
Weather? Could be.
Yeah. Is it going to rain tomorrow? Doesn't look like it. Which, honestly, like what the sky looks like the day before doesn't really make any difference as to if it's going to rain or not. Let's be honest. At least it's not where I am. Like it'll look bright and sunny one day.
What the sky looks like 10 minutes before doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. But hey, so that's there, but the big stuff is Lily. Lily comes in, she's very distraught, and she comes in, she tries to pretend she's back at work, and do you know, I was ready to complain about a section of this episode.
Me too. Because
it felt off. Something really felt off about it, but fair play, it was all a ruse, so... I can't really, because by the time, because it felt a bit weird the way, and because he had Jen, the friend, came over, and I was like, wait, I don't think I trust her. The way she's talking sounds like she wants her to go see Kenton, which makes me think she's, like working for Kenton and working for the bad guys and blah blah blah. And she goes into the office with her to have this interview, and I actually loved how this was shot. Keaton was beautifully underexposed with the light behind him from the window, so he had this kind of shadowy presence the entire time. He was very intimidating the entire scene.
He was often dead central.
Yeah, so he very well shot in that sense. But you know, there was a moment in the scene where Lily started talking, essentially crazy about how she was institutionalized before, because she was seeing Fibonacci, sequences in random code that shouldn't have had any, it should have been just random numbers, but she was seeing patterns, she was seeing things that she shouldn't have been seeing, and
it's a big conspiracy.
And I have to admit, during this little speech, I'm like, this feels out of nowhere. Nothing in the last two felt like it set that. And I was sitting there, and then a minute later, she goes out into the outside, and she sort of climbs over the railing where the stairs are, and walks onto the ledge, on that floor she's on, which is, it's only like 4 floors, but enough to, if she jumps, she's going to die, right? Yeah. And she walks out to whatever window, and it's actually Forrest walking the senator back to her helicopter, who looks up and sees her and like phones him, and says, "Hey, she's outside your window," and he turns around and she's sort of right at the edge, and I thought to myself in that moment, wait a minute, how did Jen how did Jen not see her walking across? Now admittedly, that's not a complaint, because this is all a ruse. Like I said, this is a plan between the two of them so that Jen could get a USB stick out and steal all the security camera footage of Sergei's apparent suicide so she could review it later. So I will say this again. I liked how this was shot. When he walks out, I mean, I'm sure there's some trickery involved, but it really felt like they were really on a ledge. It didn't feel like I'm sure maybe underneath that ledge there was maybe like a green screen and they were actually on a set or whatever. But it really genuinely felt like they were outside, because I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it was as simple as they had a big, bouncy castle, for lack of a better term, a big bouncy castle at the bottom, just in case they fell off. But it genuinely felt like they just hopped the ledge and walked out onto this.
Yeah, it's worth noting this is a pretty wide ledge. Like, you could comfortably stand on this.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there was precautions because.
Oh yeah. I just meant this isn't like half your foot's dangling off the ledge by standing. This is you could take a step forward still and not.
Yeah,
off the edge.
It was like 2 foot thick, I guess, would be my.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess, but. It felt really genuine, and I'm sure there was some precautions made that were they were hiding, but like it really felt like they just stepped over this railing and walked out into this ledge, and I was like, this looks legit. And usually these things feel cut around because they're they're cheating in a lot of ways, but it felt natural. So that was kind of the big thing of the episode, was this kind of ruse. And she goes back to Jamie's place, but climbs up the balcony again and comes in through the window, and he says, "What is, coming in from the window kind of your thing now?" And she's like, "Yeah, it kind of is." And so it actually played as a nice little joke because of what she'd just done to get the footage.
Yeah, that was kind of funny, but maybe just hit the door next time.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay now.
And I appreciate it's kind of self-aware, the show, actually, where she sits down and says, "I need your help again. I got the footage of Sergei's suicide. I want to review it, and I don't want to watch it alone." And he's like, "Wait, you want me to watch footage of the guy you left me for burning himself to death, and you want to watch it together?" I think the phrase he used was transcendently weird, because it's a pretty unique situation. But they watch it, and Joe, I actually, because obviously they're looking for something that proves that it's fake, or something that maybe flags it as, hey, there's something weird going on here. Joe, I appreciate is that I feel like there's an expectation in scenes like this in movies and TV shows where people are looking at footage and they're going to find some sort of, gotcha, some sort of silver bullet that's like, hey, this proves something, or we find something in the frame. And, I'd say 9 times out of 10, maybe 95 out of 100.
Yeah, you're being generous with 9 out of 10.
Yeah. It's, it'll be something stupid, or I'll roll my eyes, or it'll be either something that I flat out understand is incorrect because I just know enough about, video and tech and whatever. And sometimes it's stuff that I don't understand, but it feels like bullshit. And I have to give this credit, is that it didn't betray how real it looked, but at the same time, what he noticed was something genuinely like, oh, that proves it. Like, that actually is.
It's frustrating from their point of view that it feels sloppy, right? That that they made this mistake.
Mm-hmm.
In in the manipulation that they did, but also, yeah, it's there.
But I buy that like, people thought I'd be fine. No one will notice that because it's constantly moving. The fire's constantly moving. But basically, what they notice is that essentially the fire's split into three parts, and the left is left, middle, and right, and the left and right parts are identical. Every time he pauses it, you can see the exact shapes in both sides of the fire, and it means they've been copy and pasted. It means that this is a visual effect.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest frustration that I have is if you're going to do this and cover up a murder, at least delay it by a few frames,
that
so that when you pause it, it's not immediately obvious.
Yeah, that made it harder to spot, taking a bit more time. But I mean, I appreciated this. I thought this is actually a good catch.
It is, yeah.
So no, I like that. So that's kind of where we will leave them off, and there's a couple of things. We mentioned the scene where Kenton goes to Forrest to tell him that hey, she's schizophrenic, and we can get out of anything that she says, kind of thing. But otherwise, the episode ends with we see like the machine, the core of devs. It feels very ominous. It's all again. I'm thinking like Skynet vibes here. It feels like it's alive, and then it goes to like the real footage of what happened that night, right? And we see, but in reverse, we see like sort of them placing because this is the thing. This is something that Lily and Jamie bring up is that the body was real. Like the body that was there was tested and is real. There was no faking that.
And she touched it.
Yeah. But like that just means he wasn't killed there. It just means that the body was really there.
Yeah, and I like that the first like half of the episode, she's on the idea that this could have been anyone. This body, whoever, just because they've said it's his body doesn't mean it necessarily is.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, maybe he's alive. There's a possibility, and then as it goes on, it's like, well, no, it's booking more and more layer that they just killed him and covered it up.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that felt off to me was the way when she came in, she immediately wanted to talk to the blonde woman about what happened, and she sounded I was sitting getting frustrated because she's and this is the beauty of it is that it sounded like she was intentionally trying to sound as crazy as possible. Like she's never going to believe a word you're saying because the way you're bringing this across sounds absolutely ridiculous. But again, fair play, that was the point. The point was to do this in front of an audience member so that everything tracked for the story. So I can't fault it. It felt weird at the moment, but once it all kind of came together, I was like, well, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating to watch in the sense that it's probably a good 10 minutes or so where you're like, what's going on? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And it gets a little irritating that it feels like it's going on a while with us being out of the loop. But once you understand it, it's like, all right, fair enough. Can't really complain at it, other than for keeping us out of the loop for maybe too long.
Yeah. So the final shot is like this happening in reverse, where we see the body being put down, or I should say picked back up because it's reverse, and sort of the final moment is kind of Kenton himself sort of walking back out of the frame, and that's when it cuts to black. But very interesting I mean, this could just be a thematic device rather than anything else. But I think it's interesting to cut to the dev's machine, kind of watching this itself, if you will.
Is this the machine choosing to see this? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
I don't know. Like I'm not ready to say it's sentient because there's been no indication that it is sentient. But like I say, this could purely just be the feeling of like being able to watch the past again and just sort of incorporating that into the episode for us because we know everything that's going on. But I mean, if there is some kind of sentience in there,
I think what makes it a little of a bit of a strange question in the sense of why show us this if there's no other purpose to it? Because we kind of know all these events already. Showing us just they did burn, and you just dropped it in doesn't add anything on its own, not really. So I think there is a greater purpose to showing us this, and especially in context of the machine. Maybe it's not the machine in this, but is there someone there that we don't see that is kind of projecting back? But I mean, it would be extremely. This is extremely accurate if it is a projection by the machine in comparison to the grainier images before? Is that just because it was so recent? Because it's
Well,
got more data?
it was the same angle as the actual security camera footage we see. So presumably this was the original security camera footage before it was erased, which might mean that it's not the machine itself, or is the machine accessing the real security camera footage, and that's why it's clear.
If it is, that would also be really fascinating because it's supposed to be, off the system.
Yeah, true. It's supposed to not be able to connect, unless for some reason they've stored the footage in there because it is off the system. Like,
No, it could be.
I think it's safe in there because hey, it's not connected to anything. That could be the case. If it is sentient, like my bold, I mean, I don't actually think it is. I'm leaning towards it isn't, but let's say if it is, my bold prediction would be that essentially what's happening in the show is that Forrest has accidentally made God, because this thing is going to learn everything about human history and everything that's going to happen. So essentially, this thing is God.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
and he's invented it.
It's kind of a cool concept.
Yeah, accidentally inventing God via a machine. Yeah. I suppose in a way you could say something like Skynet's accidentally inventing Satan, but I mean, it doesn't really go into a thematic sense. But
I'm sure if you watched it with the intention of going in with that angle, you could really come up with a good thesis for that.
Yeah, maybe. But whereas this feels a lot more like, potent in the sense, given the images we're seeing in some of these like projections of the past and how kind of like almost cold it is and how it watches them. Like it doesn't seem, there's no feeling. It's just like, no, here's something horrific happening in front of us.
Usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, unless the techie or the nerdy programmers put in Marilyn Monroe having sex, in which case something a bit different.
I mean, yeah, that's human nature for you.
Yeah. So no, definitely. I mean, I will say this. This was a little bit of a shorter episode, and there was definitely less meat in the episode compared to the first two. So that's could just be a runtime thing, admittedly, but I think we're definitely in a slow burn, 8 episode show in the sense that I'm not expecting like huge leaps forward in plot every week. I'm expecting more atmosphere, more mood, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I do think one of my biggest fears that I mentioned last time has kind of been fulfilled in that we got one little snippet of the machine at the start and it's teasing all these things and it's so fascinated and I'm like so into it. And then we spend the vast majority of the episode after that just on the character stuff, which is not bad, but nowhere near as interesting or compelling as the mystery of what's going on.
Yeah, my hope is that it shifts a bit more as we get closer and closer to the end, and it becomes more relevant to what's going on, and maybe eventually Lily herself will become aware of it and, be let in on it.
Yeah, I just last time I mentioned the music felt very much what I would expect from Alex Garland's projects in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I did check. It was Jeff Barrow is the co-composer on this, who has co-composed pretty much everything else that Garland's done. With various people. I don't think this is with the same person as before. But again, there is a constant thread there that is kind of driving that style.
Yeah, no, music was really good again. The sound design is pretty solid. So there you go. That's episode 3 of Devs. Definitely making us think a little bit in terms of what the machine is, what it's accomplishing, what it's maybe leading to, what Forrest sees in this future that he's seeing in the machine. These are the kind of the interesting questions that we're sitting with here. Lily's quest to find out more about what happened to Sergei, not as much, but hopefully once that starts to tie up a little bit, we can see it all come together. But that's episode 3. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, you can do that over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv for as little as $1 per month. It helps a ton if you do that. Keeps all the content coming, as does rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars and a review. More people will find us that way. We'll appear higher in rankings and that kind of thing. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. If you're looking for more sci-fi TV discussions, it is worth mentioning that Westworld is back for season 3. Me and Carl will be reviewing that, and me and Tara are still reviewing Picard season 1, so some more sci-fi TV on right now to go and sink your teeth into. But that is us. So once again, thanks for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?